Ian Sabig is The Guardian's defense and security editor. The UK did not participate in the first waves of strikes against Iran on Saturday morning and has no immediate intention of doing so, but fighter jets were running defensive operations from Qatar and Cyprus to shoot down any incoming drones and missiles. Iran launched an immediate counterattack, including strikes on Israel and Jordan as well as on U.S. bases in Bahrain, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, and Kuwait. British forces are located at the bases in small numbers. Details of the operations were scant, and the Ministry of Defense would not specify which countries and bases were being defended, though the UK recently boosted deployments in case there was an escalation of hostilities. British nationals in Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates were advised to immediately shelter in place after reports of Iranian missile attacks. The Foreign Office advised against all travel to Israel and Palestine. The UK Prime Minister, in a joint statement with his French and German counterparts, Emmanuel Macron and Friedrich Merz, said, "We did not participate in these strikes." But all three leaders added that they were in contact with the U.S., Israel, and other regional allies. You can read more here. Iranian strikes landed within a few hundred yards of British troops in Bahrain, UK Defense Secretary says. Over in the UK, the British Defense Secretary, John Healey, said Iranian strikes landed within a few hundred yards of British troops in Bahrain. This is a really serious and deteriorating situation with rising risks of increasing Iranian indiscriminate retaliatory attacks. Let me give you a couple examples. Yesterday, we had 300 personnel on that Bahrain base that was attacked by Iranian missiles and drones, some of them within a few hundred yards of where they landed. We had two missiles fired in the direction of Cyprus. We don't believe they were targeted at Cyprus, but nevertheless, it's an example of how there is a very real and rising threat from a regime that is lashing out widely across the region, and that requires us to act out when asked if the U.S. attacks were legal. Healey sidestepped the question by saying it was not for him to make that judgment. In an interview with the BBC, the defense secretary said he was worried that indiscriminate attacks from Iran were putting British personnel and citizens abroad at risk. Seeing these messages is annoying. We know that. Imagine what it's like writing them, but it's also extremely important. One of The Guardian's greatest assets is its reader-funded model. Reader funding means we can cover what we like. We're not beholden to the political whims of a billionaire owner. No one can tell us what not to say or what not to report. Reader funding means we don't have to chase clicks and traffic. We're not desperately seeking your attention for its own sake. We pursue the stories that our editorial team deems important and believe are worthy of your time. Reader funding means we can keep our website open, allowing as many people as possible to read quality journalism from around the world, especially people who live in places where the free press is in peril. At the moment, The Guardian's work is funded by just 2.4% of our regular readers. If you're in the other 97.6%, appreciate our work and believe that good journalism is important too. Protecting democracy in an age of misinformation, please consider joining the readers in Bangladesh supporting The Guardian today. It only takes a minute and you can cancel at any time. Thank you. Gulf states report successfully intercepting Iranian missiles and drones. Qatar's defense ministry said its air force intercepted missiles and drones fired from Iran earlier today, while Kuwait said its air defenses repelled a number of hostile aerial targets, and Bahrain said it shot down missiles and drones launched by Iran. There were no immediate reports of any casualties. Iran has launched missiles and drones targeting Israeli and American military installations in Bahrain, Kuwait, and Qatar. In response to Saturday's deadly U.S.-Israeli strikes on the country, the U.S. military has reported no American casualties and minimal damage at its bases. Oman has said an oil tanker in the strategically important Strait of Hormuz came under attack. Injuring for mariners on board, the attack targeted a Apollo-flagged vessel called Skylight, the state-run Oman news agency said in a report we have not yet been able to independently verify. It described the crew as Indian and Iranian. It was not immediately clear who attacked the vessel, but it came after authorities said Iran had been threatening ships traveling the strait. Since the U.S.-Israeli attacks, the Strait of Hormuz, a crucial choke point for all transit, lies between Oman and Iran and links the Gulf to the north with the Gulf of Oman to the south and the Arabian Sea beyond. Iran struck the world-famous Fairmont Hotel in Dubai, setting the hotel alight as the war launched by the U.S. and Israel on Iran quickly spread to the rest of the Middle East on Saturday. Residents watched in shock as an Iranian missile hit the five-star hotel in Dubai's luxurious Palm Jumeirah area. Social media videos showed fires breaking out near the entrance of the hotel, which led to 4 people being injured. Later, Dubai authorities said debris from an intercepted drone caused a fire at the city's famous luxury hotel, the Burj Al Arab, and Dubai's international airport. Abu Dhabi Airports said in a post on X that an incident at Zayed International Airport in the UAE's capital resulted in 1 fatality and 7 injuries. It later deleted the post. Civil defense teams responded immediately and brought the incident under control. No injuries have been reported, the Dubai media office wrote on its X account. The media office also said that part of Dubai's international airport sustained minor damage in an incident, without giving further details. One Dubai resident said that everyone is very scared as the situation continued to deteriorate. There is footage of missile interceptions all over the city, they said. I am packing a suitcase just in case. Not that we can leave because airspace is closed. It is the thing we have all been frightened about happening. And now it has elsewhere in the Gulf. Previously considered oasis of stability in the Middle East, similar scenes unfolded within hours of the first U.S. and Israeli bombs being launched. Iran responded with a wide-ranging attack targeting more than 6 countries, pulling in places that had been previously untouched by the escalating crisis. In Bahrain, an Iranian drone flew into a high-rise building in what looked like a targeted attack, exploding and engulfing the skyscraper in flames. Earlier, the country's national security agency was also struck by an Iranian missile. Social media footage also appeared to show a missile hitting the huge U.S. naval base in Bahrain. In Kuwait, a drone crashed into the country's main airport, wounding several employees and damaging the facility. As Iran responded to U.S. and Israeli strikes by bombing the Gulf and Israel, its proxies joined the fray. Bases belonging to the Iran-backed Popular Mobilization Forces in Iraq were struck by either the U.S. or Israel, killing at least 2 members of the armed Iraqi group Kataib. Hezbollah, the Iran-backed groups, responded by coming to its aid, with Kataib Hezbollah and Yemen's Houthis both warning they would be joining strikes on U.S. military bases across the region. Just a few hours into what Washington was calling Operation Epic Fury, fighting had already expanded far beyond the geographic scope of the previous war in Iran in June 2025, which was almost entirely confined to Israel and Iran. For citizens in the Middle East, the escalating war prompted anxiety and concern. In Lebanon, gas stations across the country had lines 10 cars deep within an hour of the strikes. People in Beirut airport watched as commercial flights were canceled and grocery stores were filled, with the more cautious stocking up on essential Goods the memory of the 2024 war with Israel fresh in there. Minds all eyes were on Hezbollah, the Iran-backed group that previously said the killing of Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was a red line. A statement from the group on Saturday afternoon made no mention of whether it would help its chief patron, Iran, but instead condemned what it described as a violation of the UN Charter by the U.S. and Israel. Many Lebanese dreaded the entry of Hezbollah into the ongoing conflict, fearful of triggering a response from Israel, which has signaled through diplomatic channels that it would unleash a wide-ranging attack against Lebanon in the case of Hezbollah's involvement. Explosions rocked the rest of the Middle East as Israel intercepted incoming Iranian ballistic missiles above other countries. In Jordan, fires blazed in the northern city of Irbid as missile shrapnel fell from the sky and caught alight. The attacks drew condemnation from Arab states around the region for what they called a violation of their sovereignty by Iran. Qatar called the Iranian strikes on its territory a direct assault on national security, while it and other Gulf states warned they have the right to respond. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said in an interview with NBC that he told Gulf states, "We have no intention to attack them, but we are actually attacking the American bases in the act of self-defense." Attacking the Gulf states was a line Iran did not cross in past rounds of conflict, with rare attacks on all infrastructure remaining, and claimed Gulf states had previously tried to prevent the Trump administration from attacking Iran, fearful of blowback and unintended consequences destabilizing the country of 93 million. Imposing material costs on Gulf Street. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran, has died aged 86 in a large-scale air attack on the country by the U.S. and Israel. He presided over a complex theocratic system that was enforced brutally at home and sought to influence the exercise of power in other Middle Eastern countries, though the U.S. and Israel attempted to destroy Iran's nuclear enrichment program with a bombing campaign in June 2025. It was not fully successful. The economy continued to deteriorate, and the following January the country's people took to the streets against the Islamic Republic. An estimated 30,000 or more protesters were killed, the largest death toll in modern Iranian history. U.S. President Donald Trump considered discussions with Khamenei's diplomats about the nuclear issue and missile production to be unproductive. In announcing the new attack, he called on Iranians to do what they could to take over the government once it was over. Khamenei had come to ultimate power in 1989, by which point he was already the country's president. Iran's 88-strong assembly of experts, senior Shia clerics, chose him to succeed Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, overthrower of the Shah in 1979 and founder of the Islamic Republic, as supreme leader of Iran. Thereafter, Khamenei had absolute power and the final say in Iran's future, whether in regard to its controversial nuclear program or détente with the West. He was not only commander-in-chief of the Iranian armed forces, which includes the regular Artesh Army and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps IRGC, but also headed the Axis of Resistance, an anti-Western and anti-Israel alliance made up of Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad in the Gaza Strip, Shia militias in Iraq, the Houthi rebels eventually occupying western Yemen, and the Bashar al-Assad regime in Syria. Thus, his rule had a direct impact on much of the region, and under his leadership, the Islamic Republic of Iran became one of the world's biggest state sponsors of terrorism.